Blog Talk Radio.
Warning, the following program may include profane language, controversial viewpoints, and perspectives on the true nature of reality so far removed from the status quo, they'll make your head spin like a top. Young children, corporate executives, and religious fundamentalists should turn away now. Good evening, fellow Earthlings. Welcome to the 2012 episode of Extraordinary Year, the online show that puts everyday people like you with questions about 2012 on the road to understanding. My name is Tim Bravo, and I thank you for joining us tonight. Maybe joining us a little later tonight will be co-host Canada and Steinine. If you've been following the show, you know who those two guys are, and maybe Catherine, who does not yet have a name. If you go over to the chat window on our page, you can talk with me or other guests, including my beautiful wife, Monica, who's on there right now. So hop over onto the page, onto the chat, and ask questions, talk amongst yourselves, things like that. Okay, so it's kind of a special episode because this week there is what seems to be authentic proof to talk about that things are actually happening. We're going to talk about evidence in mainstream media supporting what all the underground sources has said would happen, and it is happening. It's underway. It only gets better from here. Brock Braider reared his head again this week. We'll talk about that. We'll tell you what that's about. We're finally going to get to the Eisenhower meetings with extraterrestrials, and we'll also talk about his great-granddaughter Laura, who says things that will blow your mind. She will blow your freaking mind. She's for real. And then if Canada calls in, we were talking earlier tonight, he's going to have the show of the week. We like to tell you about cool things to watch that kind of help you understand what's going on with the whole 2012 thing. So we'll have the show of the week. We'll discuss recent UFO sightings across the globe, and I do mean across the globe, like everywhere. Pretty significant stuff. We'll talk about that. So all this tonight, as well as your questions and comments live. Remember, you can pose questions and talk amongst yourselves in the chat room on the episode page. And you can call in questions to 858-956-2147. That's 858-956-2147. Okay, delving right into it tonight. Follow the money. We were calling this episode Follow the Money because that's where the evidence is right now. The cleansing that has been prophesied for months, if not years, it's begun. It's happening. It's in the news. Benjamin Fulford and David Wilcock have independently and together been talking about a lot of stuff that's been going on and related to the money and how money is going to operate on this planet and how that's going to be the first step toward making giant change, is that we've got what you would call white hat human groups working behind the scenes and the stuff that you'll never hear about because the bad guys control the press, and going to change the way that the world money situation works to benefit everybody. They've been talking about this for quite some time, talking about how they're going to, they're going to take out all the people at the top of the financial heap who are, running the planet more or less and running it for themselves. And they're going to go away. And it's starting to happen. And there's going to be disclosure of, major crimes, and they're going to pay, not necessarily pay, but justice will be done. Whatever is right, it will be done. In the news this week, big ol' Italian police job in Switzerland, where they found 6 trillion in fake U.S. bonds. I'd say they found. I think they knew it was there. It was a huge sting. I mean, this is a huge sting. $6 trillion in U.S. bonds. The Italians tracked down and got in Switzerland. Now, Switzerland. Now, do you suppose maybe that was on its way to a Swiss bank, or maybe was coming from a Swiss bank? The fact that it's fake doesn't mean that they obviously weren't going to try and use them as the real deal. And ultimately, as anybody who follows how the Federal Reserve creates money, it's not backed and based on anything either, so it's basically just as fake. I mean, so why shouldn't anybody else just make up money out of thin air and use it? And that's basically what's happened. And we're talking trillions of dollars. Wrap your head around how much 1 trillion is, and then this is 6. It's just money. And also this week, Lord James of Blackheath in the UK, in their version of the upper house of Parliament or whatever it is over there. It's kind of like the Senate over here, except they're like nobles. So Lord James of Blackheath warned the world about some mystery $15 trillion. $15 trillion transferred through one bank to go to the Royal Bank of Scotland. $15 trillion funneled through one bank to go to the Royal Bank of Scotland. Now, I think you can call that money laundering. Also implicated in what he got up and gave a speech before, the House of Lords or whatever. And he implicates J.P. Morgan and the Federal Reserve. And if this, $15 trillion form of malfeasance gets traced back to the Federal Reserve, I mean, it's like the leak of how, maybe this is how they're going to bring down the Fed. We know they're going to do it. We know the Fed's going away. Thank God. But, J.P. Morgan, the bank named after the guy who made sure that Tesla's technology never got to the world, and the Federal Reserve, if this brought them down, wouldn't that be a thing? $15 trillion. That's a lot of money. And Ben Fulford corroborates the account, and Lord James of Blackheath was talking about this Lord Sassoon in his statement before their legislative body. And according to Ben Fulford, this Lord Sassoon is to be arrested for perjury soon. So there's corroboration there. Lloyds Banking Group, this is also in the news, Lloyds Banking Group is clawing back 40 to 50% of like 3.2 billion pounds, which, basically is 1 to 2 billion pounds. And however that relates to dollars, I'm not sure, but, it's got to be somewhere in the ballpark unless it's more. That's a lot of money, and they're going to claw this back legally as their bonuses. They're taking it back from 10 of their senior bankers, or from 10 senior bankers. So, there's a lot happening in money right now, and it's not in the favor of the rich, the powerful, the people at the top of the pyramid. And this is the stuff that's coming through into mainstream media. If you look into David Wilcox, go to David Wilcox's website, divinecosmos.com. And he's been working on a thing it's a blog post. It's basically a small book. He goes into immense detail about how the financial situation has got to where it is, who's behind it, how they've done it, and what's being done about it, and what's going to happen because of it. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of work, and if you're really interested in understanding or seeing evidence of stuff that's actually happening, then go check that out. It's not the sort of thing you're getting in mainstream media yet, but mainstream media is corroborating what he's been saying for some time and what Benjamin Fulford has been saying for some time. And not just them. Everyone is saying the same thing. If you are someone who follows the 2012 phenomenon, it is a phenomenon, but, the storyline, the way of thinking, the view on the world, the underground, the parts of the internet that your intuition tells you have something for you. They're all saying the same thing. It's not just Benjamin Fulford. It's not just the human intel, although it definitely is the human intel. And when we're talking about people like Benjamin Fulford and David Wilcock and Poofness, who is an anonymous blogger based out of the D.C. area, not only do these guys basically corroborate each other, you could say it's collusion. I don't believe it is. A lot of these guys don't know each other. Well, Ben and David obviously do, but these people are saying things independently of each other and even disagreeing on some points because they each have insiders, and all their insiders are saying roughly the same thing, but it's like the message getting passed down the line. One kid says it to the next, whispers it in his ear, and then the next kid whispers it in the next kid's ear, and eventually it's not, 3 bodies in Nevada, it's 4 bodies in Ohio, whatever. The point is, there's a lot of similarity in what all the human intel insiders are saying, and we're talking about people who are deep black ops, military, Pentagon, Yakuza, and if you don't know who Yakuza is, that's the Japanese underground crime bosses, very, very powerful and very secret and very brutal. They mean business, and they're working with Benjamin Fulford and protecting Benjamin Fulford while he talks about these things that are going on behind the scenes, where huge groups of nations, like 130 nations, are getting together, basically coming together, aligning against everyone you think is, industrialized or the good guys. The United States, UK, most of Europe, the Western powers are being isolated, but it's not being talked about in the Western media. Shocking, surprise, surprise, but the rest of the world has gotten together. They figured out a way to make share the world, and they're going to make it happen. And those bastards at the top of the heap aren't going to be able to stop them. And we're starting to see it all come down. And that's why tonight is a special show, because there's a lot of evidence to go through. So stick with me, okay? Okay, so aside from the human intel, we've also got the channeled extraterrestrial intelligence that's saying the same thing. Whether we're talking about Salusa, Wanderer in the Skies, the Galactic Federation of Light has a consistent message across a myriad channels, just lots of them, and they're all saying the same thing. The Arcturian group is saying the same thing, and as far as Arcturians go, David Wilcock has had experience aboard their ships, and if he says it, I trust him. I trust David Wilcock. And let me tell you why I trust David Wilcock. Because anyone who knows me knows I'm a big Edgar Cayce follower. There are great ties to David and Edgar Cayce. Aside from that, David is just completely authentic, has devoted immense amounts of time to understanding and communicating the reality and how it all works together. If anybody really, truly wants to understand how the fabric of reality works, then they should go read the free works of David Wilcock. He's got them on his site. You can read through them for free. He has an amazing ability to look at all these different things and synthesize a narrative of reality. And from a scientific point of view, from a metaphysical point of view. And, it's just amazing. I don't think that anybody who is a serious student of metaphysics or the paranormal or spirituality or ufology, anybody who's actually authentically interested in any of those fields can't read David Wilcock with an open mind and not come away just feeling this guy is authentic, and holy cow, how did he put all that together? And now I understand. Now I get it. David Wilcock can boil it down for, the average Western human being, the average person, you and me. You and me are the ones who need this information. You and me are the ones who crave this information. David Wilcock is the guy who's able to put it all together in a form that you can understand, or at least try to, if you're really dedicated. I mean, some of it it'll stretch your mind, but if you spend time with it, eventually something will click. You'll be like, oh, I see how it all fits together now. I understand. And so that's why I trust David Wilcock. And there's a ton of evidence for both provably authentic channeling and the existence of a galactic federation of light. The real deal, the Federation, the Galactic Federation. It's not just for Star Trek. As early as Edgar Cayce, there is evidence for both provably authentic channeling. I don't think you can study Edgar Cayce and discount that he was the real deal, that he was authentically channeling and authentically, accessing the source and being able to tell us things that really did happen and how things really are and, what really will heal our body and why certain conditions really do exist in the body. So, authentic channeling and healing and that sort of thing is, proven as far as I'm concerned through Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce also discussed, aside from things as amazing as Atlantis and the truth of the Great Pyramids, etc. He also discussed Ra, and Ra is part of the Galactic Federation of Light, and there's allusions to all that in Cayce. And of course, on this show we often talk about ancient astronauts, and Edgar Cayce is just another piece of evidence for extraterrestrials visiting Earth in ancient times and up through now. And apparently there's a galactic federation, and it's called the Galactic Federation of Light. And Gene Roddenberry didn't come up with Star Trek all on his own. It's not something that he completely dreamed up. It's not just his imagination. It's all based on, he had help, and I believe that he said as much or alluded to it. I think if you research it, you'll find that out. And so all of these channeled ETs, at least the ones that I follow, there's so many of them. Obviously, you can't read them all. Two, some of them just don't feel right. And I've been working on using my intuition on these sorts of things, and the fact that these people are saying the same things from, we're talking about channelers on different continents and living in different time zones, and I don't think that there's a weekly conference call, okay, what are we going to all say this week? No, but they all end up saying the same stuff. And the very dependable ones to me, over time, the number one most dependable would be an individual reported to be from Sirius, the star system Sirius. His name is Salusa, and he comes through with messages 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's Salusa Day, and this what's happening in the mainstream media reflects what Salusa has been saying was going to happen months ago. These are wander in the skies. Sheldon Neidl, I believe is the name of a guy who has Galactic Federation contact. The Galactic Federation has just been saying this was going to happen. This is the first step. This is what has to happen for the big changes to come through. They got to be taken out. We've got to fix the money situation. We've got to take the bad guys out of power. We've got to make major arrests, and that's also coming out. And I'm going to talk about that. It's not just the channeled ETs. It's also channeled spiritual sources, whether it's recently deceased people like Montague Keene or Matthew Ward, who I believe died in the 80s, but has been a consistent voice since the 80s. And there's a cat named Alan Dale, who I don't know if he's even what his situation is. Other spiritual sources like Saul, up to like archangels, Michael, coming through regularly. If it's to be believed, then even the archangels are involved, and heaven and the extraterrestrial forces surrounding the planet. It's all the same thing. We're all the same thing. It's all one. So to think that we are separate or that they are other than is an illusion. And so why not? Why not everybody who wanted to help us out? Why wouldn't they be able to? And, when they're all saying the same thing and have been saying the same thing for months, and now it's starting to show up in the newspapers and on the internet news sites, it's truly happening. This is significant. These happenings are significant because they were predicted. What the human intelligence is giving us now is showing up in the mainstream media, and it's the stuff that we've been hearing was going to happen. Well, here it is. The arrests are showing up. People are leaving power in droves. I got an email the other day that had a list of, and I wish I'd tracked it down before the show, but I'm only talking like 5 to 10 different major groups of power or people in power across the globe who are suddenly stepping down quietly, whether it's, entire bank boards or, actual people in power like politicians. It's a truly remarkable global phenomenon. Everybody knows the German president, Wolf, suddenly stepping down. Just all of a sudden, hey, he's stepping down. And this was Angela Merkel's, pick. And it turns out he's corrupt and he's a bastard. Oh, guess what? Imagine somebody in power being corrupt. Well, guess what? Corrupt people are on the way out and good people are on the way in. They said it was going to happen. Here's a mainstream article, and two of them, because not only is Wolf out, but the guy who's coming in to replace him is a human rights activist who grew up in East Germany when there was an East Germany. The guy grew up, suffering in East Germany, and he's become this human rights activist. He's a good person, and he's replacing the corrupt politician that was the pick of the prime minister. And it's not just the German president. It's Kevin Rudd. I don't know if you remember Kevin Rudd or if you follow world politics, but Kevin Rudd was to Australia what George Bush was to America while Bush was in. He was kind of like Australia's answer to George W. Bush. Said a lot of the same things and was consistently kind of a butthole. He would just say that whatever he felt like, and I don't mean to bag on conservatives. I do mean to bag on neocons. These warmongering motherfuckers, who I realize I need to forgive. I know I need to forgive them, but you know what? They made people suffer unnecessarily. Anyway, Kevin Rudd. He, after being the prime minister of Australia, has become the foreign minister. So basically, like our Secretary of State for Australia. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, out. Just leaving. Kevin Rudd, out. That'd be like Hillary Clinton suddenly dropping politics. And if you think that's going to happen, well, it's the same level of ambition and career politician, and he's just, I'm going. And you know what else happened? You know what else? I told you, we got a ton of evidence to go through. Saleh in Yemen has been voted out by his people after 33 years in power. So the Yemeni president, Saleh, has been voted out. He's gone after 33 years in power. Just another Arab dictator, more or less. And, to go with all the others that have fallen in the last 6 months to a year. Things are changing. The world is waking up. 33 years. Now, and the number 33, for anyone who follows Freemasonry and the Illuminati, automatically perks up every time they hear 33. And for those of you out there listening who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, still not done with the evidence. All the stuff that's happening that supports what all the channelings have been saying was going to happen. Pakistan is working with international police, with Interpol, to arrest Pervez Musharraf, their ex-president for how many years, who is basically, not just Bush's guy, but he was Clinton's guy. He was in there when Clinton was in there. Pakistan, it's a big ally, but it's also full of people who don't like us because of things that we do to their friends and neighbors, not to mention themselves. I mean, how many innocent Pakistanis have been killed by drone strikes? And I'd have to also include that Barack Obama stepped those up after taking power, so to speak. He took power, and he decided he was going to outdo George Bush in killing innocent people. So, hoorah, Barack, way to go, buddy. That's not why I voted for him. Anyway, so a lot of stuff has been going on, and it's all out there, verifiable in the mainstream media. It's real, people. Does anybody have anything to say about that? Give me a call, 858-956-2147. 858-956-2147. I see Matt Peters is in the chat room. Should call me, buddy. Tell me I'm crazy. Because if anybody could tell me I'm crazy and make me believe it, it's probably Matt Peters. Okay, so moving on. Trying to have fun on the show as we just try to have fun. Introducing sounders. Last week we talked about introducing a Dr. Seuss sounder for Canada, and I was not able to get to that, so sorry to David. We're going to try and get that Dr. Seuss thing coming up for him. Let's see. We have an off-topic buzzer to introduce you guys. That's for when Matt Steinine it gets off topic, as people have been telling me he tends to do. I don't know that I've noticed it, but if I do notice it, Matt, then this buzzer's coming for you. You can be talking about something. If it's off topic, that'll be the sounder, and you have to shut it. Get it back. Focus, buddy. And it's not just going to be Matt. I'm going to keep that one in my holster for everybody. One of these days, Catherine might get off topic. Be like, Yep it. Okay, and we got one more sounder, and I was going through freesound.org, which I love as a media producer. I get to find all kinds of great stuff on there, and it helps me out in a pinch. And so I'm going through sounds, trying to find just stuff that I can build sounders off of, and I come across this one.
Do not be afraid.
I just think that's awesome because on the show here, we talk about what the bad guys are doing, what the elite, the dark cabal, the Illuminati, the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, the dark ones. I'm going to call them the elite because it basically encompasses who they are. They're humans, just like you and me. They're just the elite ones who have, built this place the way they wanted it to be at your expense. And they're the ones that are being taken away from power so that we can all share this world. And we can share the things that we should have had, a century ago. And we're going to make a whole new world, and it's going to happen real fast, and it's started already. So the idea is don't be afraid. And anytime somebody gets too far into the fear-based stuff, yes, Monica, I can read it in real time. And yes, you guess so. Anyway, this is the Do Not Be Afraid sound.
Do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. So we're going to bring it back to peace. We're going to bring it back to hope. We're going to bring it back to positivity anytime it gets too dark. And that's how I'm going to do it. Okay. Also tonight, it's going to be a different show because we're only going to go an hour and a half. We've been going 2 hours, and it seems to become a little disinteresting. So just to keep things fresh, to keep things flowing, we're going to go to an hour and a half. And starting next week, we are going to move the show to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time instead of 10:30. So we're going to move it back a half hour, and we're going to take off a half hour off the length of the show. So next week, starting next week, 10 o'clock Central Standard Time to 11:30. Now, if you've been listening to the show, every episode we've talked about an individual by the name of Brock Braider. He came out as a former Navy SEAL named Bill Wood and has since started using his real name, Brock Braider, who's had a lot of fantastic things to say about what's coming this year, about how he knows and who wants to stop what he knows is going to happen from happening. There are obviously, with any sort of disclosure of the nature that he has bestowed upon us, anytime that happens, the trolls come out of the woodwork and try and discredit. It's the Karl Rove strategy. People have been saying he's a pedophile. He has openly admitted to having legal issues when he was in his early 20s with a statutory rape thing where he thought she was older than she actually was, and but it was consensual. Not that that makes it okay, but he is open about it. But to call him a pedophile and to discredit him because of mistakes that he made of a sexual nature when he was, a young, dumb kid, before he actually, gave his service to his country, I think it's low. And then people have actually come out and said that he's not a Navy SEAL, he can't prove it. Well, this week he reared his head, released a PDF with email evidence from a former instructor who was trying to convince him that they knew each other. So he's released email evidence from that conversation back and forth in hopes of proving that he really was trained as a Navy SEAL. It's not conclusive evidence by any means, but it is evidence. And furthermore, I keep talking about intuition tonight because, guess what? Sixth sense, spiritual intuition, it's real. And anybody's got it. You can develop your own. And if you really use it and practice it and trust it, it tends to steer you wrong less than more. It can become relied upon with use. And my intuition, which I am learning to use, tells me that this guy is authentic. This guy is the real deal. And if you go into it with an open mind or go into it with the mindset that this guy is for real and listen to what he has to say and see how it fits to what you understand is the nature of reality based on what the nature of reality truly is, which is a holographic illusion, and space and time are both not even really happening, let alone matter, or the idea that you are actually separate from God. None of it is real. And once you understand that, and you listen to the things this guy say, I mean, it just all kind of fits. So it's not conclusive evidence that Bill Brock Braider is who he says he is, but my intuition says he is, and, you know, the guy's really trying. So we're going to continue to follow this Bill Brock Braider saga. Hopefully he's got more up his sleeve to reveal. Hopefully he'll be able to provide some sort of verifiable proof as well. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because it's the concepts that people need to understand. So, last week we talked about Dwight D. Eisenhower and how he was reported to have had meetings with extraterrestrials. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, as president, is reported to have had meetings with extraterrestrials. Now, this is coming most recently from a former congressional and Pentagon consultant. And this guy has said that he had 3 meetings with extraterrestrials. But this guy isn't the first person to say this. This isn't actually news. It's important because it's resurfaced. It's another individual saying this. But what's important is how these meetings had an impact on how the 20th century played out and how your lives played out. Because it wasn't just one group. It was 2 different groups. It was the Pleiadians and the Greys. And the Pleiadians came to them and said, you know, we would like to, you know, join you on this planet and show you wonders that you wouldn't believe, and, you know, help you achieve spiritual evolution to you know, an immense degree. And not just Eisenhower, but, you know, the brass, the top of the military basically said, well, what about your technology? Give us your technology. Well, the Pleiadians wouldn't do that. No, we're not going to give you that because you guys obviously can't handle even nuclear stuff. By the way, cut it out with that. We're not going to let you do that anymore. But you guys can't handle our tech until you reached a certain level of spiritual understanding. Once you've reached that level of spiritual understanding, you'd never actually hurt another thing, anything. You'd rather die than hurt something or someone. Once you reach that spiritual understanding and why that should be, then you have the spiritual responsibility to handle this technology. But we'll come and we'll help you achieve, you know, understand the true nature of reality and work with it. Work with, you know, the real natural laws, not the ones you think are the way they are. But, you know, apparently our best and brightest passed up the opportunity and met with a group of service to self extraterrestrials, the ones that we tend to think of as the Greys, the generic alien that we all see, the Pauls, except not like Paul at all. You know, these are the abductions that everybody was suffering, especially in the United States. Interestingly, especially in the United States, all the abductions, which, by the way, you haven't heard about for a while, have you? But anyway, those aliens told our leaders, you know what? Yeah, we'll give you some tech. We'll give you the tech. We won't tell you how it works, but we'll give it to you. And in exchange, you need to deny our existence and let us abduct your people and do experiments. And it's apparently what happened is that's what they agreed to because they were greedy, because they wanted the technology. And what did they do with the technology? I mean, they back-engineered stuff and you know, figured out how to use anti-gravity, and we gained things like fiber optics and Kevlar and Teflon from these understandings. But, what did we pay as a society when we could have had truth? So it's not just this former congressional and Pentagon consultant who is saying this recently, but previously these reports came out and are corroborated by Dwight Eisenhower's great-granddaughter, Laura Eisenhower. And I bring her up because not only did she, tell us about these things, but she's been pretty vocal as a spiritual person in the last year. And recently, just this week, I think, released an interview. I haven't listened far enough in, but the link is on our Facebook page. But links to everything that we're talking about tonight can be found on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/extraordinaryyear. And all the mainstream articles, and you'll probably see that I consider mainstream to be pretty loose. If it's a going concern, I consider it mainstream because they can be shut down. If it's owned by one of the big five, I consider it mainstream. So yeah, Laura Eisenhower gave an interview this week in which she talks about being recruited for the Mars Society, the Mars mission from the secret space program that, is secret and nobody believes is really there, except more and more people are, and more people are seeing the evidence in things like the fact that there were 2 Apollo flights that were bought and paid for and in the works when America decided just to, scratch it because they couldn't afford it. Then the people couldn't afford it. After racing to the moon and being in this big space race and really having it be ongoing, all of a sudden America decides, we appropriated the money. We already spent it, but we're just not going to go. Whatever. They went. They just stopped telling us about it, and they've got technology from working with these extraterrestrials and from recovering craft from some of the good guys, as in Roswell. This stuff is real. There's plenty of evidence for the authenticity of what happened in Roswell. There's a secret space program, and they're able to do a lot of things. And one of the things they do is go to Mars. Have you heard the band 30 Seconds to Mars? There's a reason for the name of that band. And Laura Eisenhower says she was approached because of her lineage, ostensibly, to become a part of this Mars mission. There's another interview this week. I'm not going to get into that. There's other evidence for this secret space program out there. And if you doubt what I say, you don't think that there could be a space program that uses technology and stargates to jump people from Earth to Mars in seconds, or the moon, or that we have bases on the moon, or even things above and beyond what we're talking about, traveling the solar system with human craft, with our own technology that we now have. If you don't believe me, then I suggest you go watch a talk by Richard Dolan on the secret space program. Richard Dolan is a true researcher. Yes, he's a ufologist, but he bases all his work on verifiable documents and phenomena, and is just an incredibly learned scholar of the UFO phenomenon, and has found more than substantial evidence for the secret space program. And now that you have Bill Brock Braider talking about things related to the secret space program, you've got Laura Eisenhower, the great-granddaughter of the president, who met with extraterrestrials to begin with, saying that, there is a secret space program, and she was recruited. That's not all she talks about. She apparently talks about Ascension, and Ascension is why we're here. Ascension is what 2012 is really all about. It's the whole point of it all. And if by now you don't have a handle on what Ascension is all about, do yourself a favor and go check it out. I'm always pointing people to the 2012scenario.com. I think it's a wonderful one-stop shop. It's by no means the only place I go to, but the quality of the stuff that comes across the 2012 scenario, it's a beautiful catch-all for all the best stuff that's happening. They don't include everything. There's other great stuff out there, but if you really want to start an understanding of Ascension, I would start there. Apparently, Laura Eisenhower also talked about the Illuminati in her interview. I really want to take a look at this. I haven't had a chance to listen to but the first half hour or so, and there wasn't anything really juicy in that part, but she apparently talks about the Mars thing at some point, and Ascension and the Illuminati. The link for that, again, is on our page at Facebook, facebook.com/extraordinaryyear. Go check that out, like it, suggest it to your friends, and anything that we talk about and all kinds of interesting stuff can be found on the wall there. Again, anyone wants to call, it's 858-956-2147. Usually right now is when we would talk about stuff to see, kind of the show of the week. I was hoping David would call in, so we could. He was talking to me earlier tonight about an episode of Phineas and Ferb, and that's all I'm going to say, because I think if he calls in next week, I'm going to have him present it then. But a lot of us who have kids know about Phineas and Ferb. It's a wonderful, funny show, and definitely imaginative writers and smart writers, but this particular episode seemed to have some spiritual and ascensionistic allusions. So I look forward to hearing more about it. Hopefully we can get a clip and play it, because it sounds not just cool, but funny. So, what are we looking at? 11:17. Let's talk about sightings. Let's talk about UFO sightings, getting into the weird stuff. Well, we talk about this every week because there are sightings every week, all the time, every day. If you track MUFON's database, they've got a website called UFOstalker.com that will load all the recent sightings and give details, and if the person doing the sighting online had any media that they uploaded, you can access it there. So whether we're talking about pictures or video, there's video that never makes it to YouTube unless someone like me comes along, is checking the database and pulls it down and uploads it. And I have done it on a couple occasions, and I have video of UFOs that nobody else does because I pulled it off of MUFON's site as it's come across. Amazing stuff on Manhattan Island, stuff down in Florida. And the UFOs in Florida have been corroborated by multiple residents of the town of Dunedin from where the video came, including the girlfriend of the guy who took it eventually got in touch with me. So definitely some interesting UFO footage just comes across every day. Just, you just never know who's going to catch what. And it's all wonderful evidence. Yeah, some of it's fake, and I've taken it upon myself, or used to take it upon myself, to expose the fakes and then upload the fakes and show how I know they're fakes. So I'm not looking at every UFO video going, dude, they're here. But I am looking at some of them going, oh, dude, they're here. And so I'm going, come on, you're wasting my time, you're cluttering up the good information, cut it out. Because what we need at this time is truth. It's time for humanity to have truth. You know, let's stop lying to ourselves about the necessity of wars, the necessity of petroleum, the necessity of the pharmaceutical industry, the necessity of GMO or artificial ingredients in foods. The way we live our lives on this planet is retarded and ridiculous, and we've got to graduate. That's what Ascension is. We've got to graduate from this kindergarten society of eye for an eye, and he hit me first, I'm going to hit him back, or I'm going to kill him before he can kill me. And we've got to grow up, and that's what this opportunity is, and it's basically grow up or else, or continue trying to grow up somewhere else. But all signs point to not just humanity ascending, but the Earth herself actually moving into an area of denser vibration, denser matter, where the state of matter actually is going to shift into a different density of matter, just like water shifts into ice or steam. It won't. I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry. Okay, so where were we? Sightings, right? Okay. So if you go on the Extraordinary page on Facebook, the Extraordinary Year Facebook page, we've got a link to the latest sightings on the 2012 scenario. And I used to, like I said, go track down the UFO stalker stuff. I would, keep tabs on what was going on YouTube. I subscribed to all kinds of YouTube users who would go find good UFO footage or not good UFO footage and post it up. I don't spend nearly the amount of time looking for UFO footage I used to, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I know they're here. I know it's real. I've seen enough video, and I've seen enough with my own eyes over the course of my life to know not only are there secret military programs that I've witnessed, but there are extraterrestrial craft that I've witnessed. And it's just amazing to witness stuff with your own eyes and not be able to deny it. So we've got a call, 612. 612, how you doing?
Hey, Tim.
Hello. What's up?
Hey, this is Matt.
Matt,
so I was just wondering, I don't mean to bring you back, but I was just considering some of your conversation about having the technology deal back in the day, and being able to now do the time warp or the jump into Mars and that type of thing. And I was just wondering what the incentive is for holding back on that technology. Why would our government?
Well, it's not even government. It's people above the government. And the incentive is to keep it for themselves. And it's because if they can keep us from knowing what's possible, and if they can keep us from doing what's possible, then they can keep us just as, slaves to make their little economy work and keep continually kicking things up to them until it reaches this breaking point, at which point, they create a worldwide catastrophe that kills most of the people and the rest are just mindless slaves. And it's been part of a big plan that's built up to now.
So the idea would be that they're making more and controlling more power by keeping it to themselves than they could by, exploiting it for fear tactics or for monetary purposes. That's the idea?
It is, because we're talking stuff that's worlds beyond the everyday world politics facade that is presented to us all. As far as getting money, they don't need this tech to continue to get their money. They've got petroleum to do that. Meanwhile, they don't need to use the petroleum. They're beyond that. But they make us believe that we do, and that it's a scarce resource, and that we have to pay for it. So it's like 9 birds with one stone, because not only do they extract our money, by arbitrarily deciding to shut down production in one area, or create a conflict that makes oil more precarious, like Iran, and all of a sudden the gas goes up, like it probably did in Minnesota either last night or tonight. And I know it's going to happen here in Kansas too. They've been talking about it for 2 days. It's going to happen, and it went up last week. And it's all a manufactured situation, so they can continue to extract more and a greater percentage of what every one of us makes of their worthless money. But they don't need it. And yeah, it's good. I believe it's a control thing. I think it's a power thing. I think that there's evidence that. There's testimony that that's why they do it, and it just makes sense to me. I think you hit it on the head.
It wouldn't be some sort of a Orwellian. I mean, I would almost think that they would take it to that point where it would be this Orwellian idea, where they could actually just put us in that slave mentality. I mean, I don't deny that there is some of that, but I also think that, like you've also talked about, that people are waking up and the movement's gaining some traction. Why wouldn't they just snuff it out? And I mean, is there fear there? And there must be. There must be.
Well, there are so many of us. Yeah, because if they push too hard, then the ones that they rely on to keep us underfoot, the police force, the military forces, there's a lot of people in there who are getting fucked just as bad as everybody else. And there are so many of us compared to them because of the way the pyramid system works that, if they didn't have the police force, if the police force or the military force turned on them and joined with the people, and it's basically 7 billion to 1. And they can't fight that, especially knowing how consciousness works. Once a group of people gets together and is of one mind, then things just happen. The universal lines. Reality forms around their thoughts and ideas.
Aren't we seeing that now, though, that we're becoming more of a one mind? I mean, what would you predict then that would happen? I mean, I would consider the movement that's going on right now to be a great threat, and if they've got that type of technology, it would be turned against us at any point. I would also assume.
But they wouldn't be allowed to do it. That's one of the things that people forget about is that our friends in the sky, our off-world friends, have repeatedly shown up to turn off nuclear weaponry or to turn off a fighter jet's guidance system or what have you. There's military colonels who have come out and said, yeah, remember when those nukes went down last October? Yeah, there was a big cigar-shaped UFO hovering up over the nuke silos for that whole 2-hour period. And, basically, last October, something like 1/9 of the United States' entire nuclear arsenal, at least the ones we know about, went offline when a UFO basically shut them down, and then when it went away, they came back. And we're talking, they can't use it against us. They won't be allowed to use it against us. They're scared shitless because this thing has really taken off. In some situations, it might be they're trying to guide the situation and get who they want in power and remove somebody from power. But what's happening is overwhelming because the people are coming together and they can't stop that. And other people in other countries, people in the street are seeing what's happening. And whether or not the backstory is authentic as far as, you know, why the U.S. really went into Libya, etc. You know, even if there was some sort of underhanded incentive, the rest of the world, the people in the street, see people in the street going out in the street and joining each other and leaders falling. Saleh just fell in Yemen yesterday. How long until Assad is out of power in Syria? And how long, you know, can this continue to go in the Middle East before the rest of the world looks at Israel and says, okay, you either cut the shit out with the Palestinians or we're going to come take care of it. Because they're outnumbered and they're not going to have us. We're going to be in our, you know, we've got our own problems.
What is the incentive on the, I'm sorry, no, I don't, yeah. What's the incentive on the other side then from our extraterrestrial friends to, I mean, if they see this deal that they've made maybe turning around on them, I mean, they obviously have supported the deal where, you know, the exchange of technology for bodies for study or what have you. Why, I mean, you know, they are allowing that to go on and they're getting what they want out of it, but then they're also restricting, you know, the ability of the powerful and elite to hold us back. So, I mean,
that would seem confusing. That would seem confusing. I think I must have miscommunicated the way I see the situation, because it's not the people who are around this planet now who gave them the technology. It's the people. It's the races that are no longer here that have basically been kicked out. The Greys and such like that. You don't hear about them anymore, and you don't see their craft anymore because they haven't been around in a few months. They were told take a hike or else, and they took the hike. You know, they basically said, well, we did what we came to do, and we're not going to win this one, so we're out of here. So all the races, all these civilizations that are around us now are from the Galactic Federation, and they are not the ones who gave the elite the tech. They did have tech basically stolen.
They met with Eisenhower.
They met with Eisenhower. They were the first and third to meet with Eisenhower, but they weren't the people who said, we'll give you the tech. The people who are around us now are the people who came to Eisenhower and the top brass and said, we will help you with spiritual evolution. We will not give you our technology. What they wanted was the technology, so they turned them down. And they talked to the races that were more concerned about domination and service to themselves, and so they, you know, threw a few bones at the military and let the military figure it out for themselves, and in return got to, you know, go around abducting women and doing all these, you know, genetic tests and having hybrid babies and crazy shit that's been more than documented, and is a dark history of America's past that, you know, I think eventually everybody has to face the truth about it, but ultimately it doesn't matter because it's over. It's done. But those guys are gone. And it was, you know, them helping these dark guys who are in power, these humans that are in power now, these elite. And the elite no longer have their buddies to call on or to work with. They're on their own, and it's, you know, they believe they'll be able to take over the planet and rule the way they've been planning on for centuries. But now their buddies are gone, and now all these other guys are here, and the rules have changed, and they're no longer, you know, getting away with what they want, and all of a sudden their technology is disappearing. Their deep underground military bases are being emptied out of all personnel and equipment, so all their, you know, high-tech, you know, space ships basically, you know, destroyed, disappeared, all the deep underground personnel just disappeared. Remember last year, Matt, when there was suddenly a big earthquake underneath Washington, D.C. area, and then, like, within hours, there was one out in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains.
Yep.
Remember how that was weird? Well, the backstory on that is those weren't earthquakes. Those were deep underground military bases being obliterated. So these, they plan to screw up the world, go underground, wait out the storm, and then, rise again to control whoever was left and still alive. Well, the places where they planned to go were taken out, and apparently there have been several of them that's happened to. And there are a lot of military insiders who say that's what happened. Those places don't get earthquakes, and when they do get earthquakes, they don't just go boom and then, basically not much after that, but a few aftershocks. Earthquakes ramp up. It's not just all of a sudden big earthquake. You feel it coming. And when you look at the seismograph for what happened in Washington, D.C. and in Denver, and compare that to what real earthquakes look like, you can tell those weren't earthquakes. That really happened. You saw Obama on the golf course when it was going on. That shit happened. So they're losing their ability to do whatever to keep us under their foot. And we're coming together, and there's a shift in consciousness. There are higher vibrations in the interstellar medium that the Earth is surrounded in now. And those vibrations are, everything is speeding up. Everything's getting faster. Everything's vibrating at a faster rate. Eventually, the way it works with all matter is it will, snap into a new density of matter, and everything will be different. And there will be, the spectrum that we see and the amount that we can hear will, that will all change. If you really look at what's available to us as human beings in our perceptions and in our senses, it's really limited. I mean, it's the full spectrum as far as we're aware, but we know there's so much more out there that, number one, we don't have the physical faculties to access, and number two, we don't believe it. We don't understand. Our brain doesn't pick it out. Our brain doesn't give us the access to these things that scientifically we know are out there. So I'm rambling. Time for the off-topic buzzer. Sorry, buddy.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I got to call it on myself. Off-topic.
All right, well, take care.
No, Matt. You still there? Matt.
Yes.
No, I was calling it on myself, buddy. No,
I know. No problem.
I'm trying to answer your questions, and then I'm rambling.
I was just you gave me a lot of thought to think about, so I was gonna, just let you continue on.
So let me ask you: do you have? Am I answering your questions? Is there anything that you're still unclear about as far as the way I see it?
No, yeah, I think you have answered my questions. It's just, I think now the onus would be more on myself to look into it further and, do some research where I'm able to probably more intelligently pose deeper questions to you about it. But I don't think I'm admittedly not there yet.
Well, I got to commend you for your open mind, coming to these things and actually, asking, having real thoughts about it and having real questions and considering that it's even possible, because I recognize the fact that, everyday person on the street, you talk about these concepts with them and their eyes are going to gloss over and they're going to immediately discredit you, and they're not going to hear what you're going to say. And you've actually taken the time to hear what I have to say. And I know what an intelligent, focused, bright guy you are, especially when it comes to things of political nature or world politics, or even science. And so it means a lot to me to have you open your mind to these things and actually have a discussion about it, because I think that's what we have to do as a society.
I totally agree with you there. Absolutely. I think once you close yourself out, then you're missing out. And
like I said over on the Facebook page, there are links to everything that we talked about last week, everything that we're talking about tonight. It should give you a good start on the old rabbit hole, to be sure. It's a lot to take in, and I think that we're in for shock. We're in for culture shock, because if what they say is going to happen happens, then what's going to happen is all these people are going to be arrested. There's going to be mass arrests to get these people out of power. There's going to be a new economic system revealed to the world that most of the world is in on already, and is just waiting to remove these guys who have been controlling the planet to be removed. And then it's, all the false lack of abundance, all the restricted resources, lies are going to be wiped off the slate. And, all of humanity is going to share in what's real, what's true, what we really do have. And what we really do have is amazing technology. And then on top of that, we're going to receive technology from our friends off-world who this year are going to come and be amongst us and, share their knowledge with us. And, it's going to be intense. It's going to be a culture shock, and it's all leading up to one thing. The whole point of it all is to get us ready to for the end of the year, for a big event, whatever it may be. But, it's however it unfolds, it's supposed to be a spiritual evolution in the consciousness of all mankind. And if you follow the 100th monkey effect, in that, you have 100 monkeys, you start with one, make them do a task. It takes them a long time to figure out, but by the time you get to the 100th monkey, he doesn't even have to think about it. He just knows how to do it because he's part of a group mind. Well, it reached a critical mass where he doesn't even have to ask how to do it or think about it. He just knows because he's part of that collective experience. Well, we're all part of a collective experience that's happening right now. And we're all collectively, on a whole, waking up. As this human organism on the surface of Gaia, we're all connected and we're all achieving the realization of these concepts. These concepts are going to become a part of our reality in the group sense, so that they become a part of reality in the physical sense. And it's going to be a wild ride, dude.
So do you think that there is some, I don't know, for the lack of a better word, manipulation by our friends to kind of organize these, the Spring Awakening and Occupied movement and that type of thing? Do you, I assume, I've seen you out there as taking part of the movement and such. So I assume that proudly. Action must be taken, right? We aren't just sitting back and waiting. This is an organic movement of the people for the people, and we must be active within it.
Exactly. It's like the John Mayer song, "Waiting for the World to Change." That I liked the song when it came out, but it always bugged me. Why are we waiting? Why should we be waiting on the world to change? We need to do the change, and our off-world friends have consistently said, we are the ones who are going to have to do it. We're going to have to make the steps. We're going to have to make the choices. We're going to have to choose to ask them to come and help us. But they're here to do it, and that's what they've been telling us. They're here to help us because that's their whole point in life, is to help help everybody. Because if it's all connected, and if you help another, you help yourself. If you hurt another, you hurt yourself. And they're here to help us realize that and live accordingly. And once you realize that all is one, and that's the basic law of the universe, that all is one, everything operates accordingly, it all kind of starts to make sense. And that's what they're here to help us understand. Yes, I think that they are psychologically nudging, people in directions. They're behind the scenes in probably a lot of stuff. There's a lot of evidence, before we got up to this point in history where, the extraterrestrials are talking to us more. If just studying paranormal, the spiritual world, we know there's evidence of people who have gone on and then reported back through mediums or whatever that they do psychologically implant ideas or push things or that, and that's humans. We do it to each other. So yeah, I think there's definitely, it's all the same thing. Extraterrestrials in the body, whether they're humans from Earth or humans from some other star system, or not humans at all. We're all souls. We're all pieces of God. We're all part of one thing, and we basically operate very similarly from the standpoint of the soul. And so the methods that the soul uses to impress upon another soul are going to be similar from you or me or somebody from Andromeda, whatever. No, I don't think it's. I agree with what you said. I think that they're definitely pushing and helping us along this line, but we're also doing the work ourselves. We are making the decisions. They're just making the suggestions. We're picking up the ball. We're moving the ball down the field.
Right.
And that's why I think the human intelligence that we're getting in the media recently is so important, because it's people from Earth alive now picking up the ball and doing things and making the changes, and it's starting to show up. Said it was going to happen. It's happening. We know it's just the beginning. We know what comes next. And so once you see it start to happen, I think that's what is so exciting this week. It seems like a quiet week. It doesn't seem like there's a lot going on, but if you really, go to the second page of the paper, it's actually pretty interesting. But they're not slapping you in the face with it. It's not going to be the headline news, because the people who control the news, they can't keep every story squashed. And this is just stuff about money. What could it have to do with extraterrestrials or world power changing hands or governments falling over or, the coming manufactured Greek crisis or whatever? What could it possibly have to do with all that? Well, it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, when it's been predicted and then you start to see it and they can't hide it, for me, it gives me a lot of hope. But I'm not a complete nut job. Because it takes a lot of balls to.
I'm gonna let you take from here. I'm gonna cut out and let you go on. Thank you very much.
Cool. Hey, thanks for the call, Matt.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay. So actually, since it's 11:47, I think I'm gonna call this early. It's been a little slow tonight. I want to thank Matt for calling. I want to thank everybody out there for listening. All the wonderful guests in the online chat room. Hopefully there's been some good conversation there. I haven't had a chance to monitor it because I'm busy trying to talk to you guys. But hold tight. I think, now that things are rolling, it should be a pretty interesting week going forward. Everything's different week to week. That's why we continue to do this show. And who knows what next week will bring. But I think we're going to go here. Before I do, I want to let you guys know, after listening, how to reach the Extraordinary Year. You can reach me or the show through Facebook.com/extraordinaryyear, all one word. If you would go like that would be awesome. And we'll always put up all the links to the stuff that we're talking about. So anytime you hear something on the show, you want to know what I'm talking about, just go to the Facebook page, and everything we're talking about will be right there on the wall. And spread the word and help, once other people know about this, the more people who come to these concepts and kind of incorporate them into their understanding of what's really happening, the more we help bring it about. Once you understand how reality works. You can also find me personally on Twitter. I am at Tim Bravo, one word. And we will be posting this show as well as the others that we do on YouTube. So you can find that on YouTube. Just look for Extraordinary Year. Okay, so before I go, I want you guys to think about something. Everybody who's out there listening, I want you to think about, this is what I want you to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, as you go about your daily life, I want you to remember that we are poised to see a completely different world in less than a year's time. Remember, there are technologies out there that could eliminate the need for the electric company, the gas company, the oil companies, the airlines, most of the pharmaceutical industry, especially oncologists, because we don't need cancer, and we could live without cancer and could have lived without cancer a long time ago. And a world without cancer is coming. You know, a world without gasoline is coming. We have these technologies. These are things we know about that have been suppressed. We could have had this world already, except a few very greedy people at the very top of our society have kept these things away from us as a part of a plan to keep the good stuff for themselves while the rest of us churn away as their ignorant slaves and are good little consumers and make their little economy work that constantly kicks the good life up to them. All the money goes up to them and them alone. It's trickle-up economics, if you would. And that's the reality of the world we live in. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. And imagine the things that they know about that they haven't told us about that we don't know about yet. But we're going to find out, and I believe we're going to find out this year. And then I want you to remember these same people, they're on their way out, and these good things are coming. I want you to think about that. I want you to hold that in your mind, that hope that things are about to become very cool very soon. Remember that we do have friends in the sky above us. We do have friends from off of this world whose whole purpose of being here is to help us through this coming shift. And it's coming, whether you like it or not. And I hope you like it because it's the most wonderful opportunity that you've had in all of your lifetimes. So I want you to remember that our friends have always been here and that they want to see us grow up as a civilization. They want to see us matriculate from these warfaring apes into a galactic, peaceful, sharing, joyful civilization as their family. Join them among the stars. Remember, this is about to happen. Tomorrow as you go through your day, think about the way that we actually build this world together in each moment with our thoughts, with focused emotions. That's what's creating the reality or the illusion of the reality around us. We know that nothing truly exists or is solid unless it's being observed. That's quantum physics. Somebody has to actually look at it for it to even basically come into material existence. Otherwise, it's just a wave of probability amongst a sea of probabilities. You know what makes it reality? And I throw up air quotes with reality there. What makes it reality is you. And that couldn't be more subjective, could it? Except you believe that it's completely objective and real and hard and fast and unchanging. But you decide what reality is. Armed with that knowledge, we know we can build a better world together by choosing it. If you find yourself afraid or worried about anything, kick those thoughts from your mind because you don't need them. Are you afraid about the economy? Don't be afraid about the economy because it's a manufactured situation that's about to become a moot point. Are you worried about a new war with Iran? Or that, are you worried about the reports that America and Israel are going to create a false flag attack in order to get Iran to, in order to start a war with Iran, when we know that China and Russia have already aligned with Iran, and if we do something, then they're going to come down on us. And believe me, the elites would love for that kind of big-ass world war to be a reality. They would love that because it would kill a lot of people and get rid of a lot of useless eaters, which is what they like to call us. But it's not going to happen because it's not going to be allowed to happen. We have friends. The rules have changed. Things are on their way to a peaceful world, a world without war this year. So don't be afraid of the stuff that's in the media that they're constantly hammering you with on CNN or on Fox or whatever, because it's all fear porn. They want you to be afraid. They want you to think about it and have strong emotions tied to it, because the more of you do, the stronger that possibility becomes. And they really need that to happen because they were trying to throw off the path of humanity. And they're not going to be able to do it because there are too many of us and we're on our way. We're progressing toward a whole new world. And they can't turn it off, but we can turn off their fear porn. So I'm asking you to turn away. Anywhere you find fear in your heart, turn it off. Believe in the opposite. Believe in the positive. And you can make it so. Remember, focus on hope. Put your energy into feeling hope. Spend time daydreaming about the world that you'd like to see, about a better life for everyone on this planet together. The sky is the limit. Anything you can imagine, we can make a reality. When reality is just an illusion decided by what we believe, then all we have to do is change what we believe. And there's nothing we can't do. It's an imaginary world. It just seems real. It's an illusion that we're all painting together. So let's paint it the way we want it to be, the best way it could be. Let's make those happy little trees. You know, you do it, I'll do it. It's a fact. If we all do it, if everyone got together and did it, our world would be as we wanted it to be. Our world will get better. It's already starting to get better. Things are happening. It's really changing. This is happening. Remember that you, as you think you are in your daily waking life, you know, whatever your name is, Bob Smith or Jane Doe, you know, you are more than Bob Smith and Jane Doe or Tim Bravo or, you know, you're more than this one life. And you've lived and you've died, and nothing has killed you, and you continue to live. Nothing can truly hurt you, so there's nothing to be afraid of. You are a vibration. You are energy. You are consciousness. And everything is energy. And energy cannot be destroyed. You cannot be destroyed. You are the master of your destiny, and you are free to choose your experience. It's what you've always been doing without even realizing it. So that's what I want you to do tomorrow as your day. So that's it for us. Keep your ear to the ground. Hold on tight, kids. This is going to be an extraordinary year. Namaste.